All right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Thursday. The transfer portal is kind of like open back up because the dead period just ended. So we're going to be hosting some visitors. We'll be talking about that today. Talking about obviously the quarterback situation, how Tennessee's doing as far as adding what we need to for us to have a good football team. That's the whole point, man. Like, don't get so caught up in these names. Understand, or maybe more focus more on, are we building up the right type of a team that we need to make that playoff push? So we'll be talking about all that, just breaking down some of the visitors because I've watched everybody, and of course I'm going to be getting y'all's thoughts. So if y'all are in here, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We will be tapping into the chat, so super chats and members will be going first. Looks like we got some coming in. I don't know what is going on here. This just says Q. So Steve, looks like Steve maybe was starting to type something, but just ended up pressing that enter button a little bit too soon and pressed Q. So appreciate that though, bro. Appreciate everybody for joining us today. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Number one, I want to start off with the strength coaches that's out there. That's such a huge deal. Like, we try to talk about it every single day because it impacts and it changes the way that the football team is gonna look. So these are two really good names. Tommy Moffitt, he was on the strength staff for Tennessee back in 1997. I don't know if he was part of the 98 team or what, but either way, obviously, a lot of the people who he helped train were on that 1998 team that won the national championship. You can see what his resume looks like. He was at LSU for a long time, did a great job there. And then you've got Scott Cochran, who is the GOAT. Like Alabama, Georgia, most of their national championships, he was the strength coach. Right now, he's the head coach at West Alabama. And I don't know if he wants to be a strength coach, but I always bring him up because I think that if you want to just like knock it out the park, he's the guy. I mean, that's a 100%, that he's going to be able to get it done and turn you into a championship football team. So next is Derek Owings. He's the strength coach at Indiana. We've talked about him previously. It sounds like actually Tennessee's in a great spot for him. So obviously his team's playing in the national championship. So we probably won't get word if it is him. Probably won't get word about that until after all that's done. At some point next week, we are anticipating that we will find out who the new strength coach is going to be. And then we also have Irvin Young. So this is a new name. Sorry that I'm blocking some of his name, but it is spelled E-R-V-I-N. Currently, he's with the U, and he was with Tennessee last year. Now, it says that he was the strength coach, but I don't know exactly what his role was. So I can say, though, that Tennessee's team from top to bottom just looked freaking way stronger last season than it did this year. Is that because maybe he left? I don't know, probably. But yeah, he's a guy that I think is also on like that very, very short list. And obviously his team is playing in the national championship too. So it's probably going to be one of the like last two guys that we just looked at. Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be talking about GMac gaining weight. To me, it's not just about George. It's a lot of people. The whole team needs to be bigger, faster, stronger on a way higher level if you want to be able to play how these teams, these two teams, Indiana and U, how they play. Physical. You know what I'm saying? Very, very physical. But either way, let me tap into the chat because I see that there's some more coming in. This one is from Donkey Nuts. He's saying that is Jake Garcia worth a shot? Michigan back up in the portal. I mean, I don't know. I never thought that he was great. And I know that we're talking about probably backups, would he be a good option? I don't know. I mean, I have to go back and watch his film. I would say you might want to find somebody else. I just don't know if that's the route that you want to go. And we'll talk about it some more. All right, so this one right here is from Gilead. Okay, Gilead. So he's a 4-star. Let me go ahead and play this clip for you, bro. So Gilead, I know that you've been a member. Let me see what else is going on in here. Okay, so yeah, he is saying that he had to read up. So appreciate that, man. Definitely appreciate that. And let me get to some more people in here who joined us early. Want to make sure that we get to that first and foremost. This one is from Steve. It's saying that the lack of planning for an established quarterback is just baffling. They did a great job on defense in the transfer portal. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily baffling. Well, maybe it kind of is. I'm just curious, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm curious, how does the staff feel about George, right? what I've said previously is maybe what they saw inside the portal is these guys are going to be these quarterbacks asking for so much money, and it's just not worth it because we have so many other needs. We want to take care of those other needs first instead of putting it all into just like one person. And if they're just not worth it, then they're just not worth it. And if it falls through, then hey, we end up with George McIntyre, and we think that we can have a good team built up where he can go out and operate and all that type of stuff. So maybe that's what the thinking was. I couldn't tell you. Obviously, I'm not inside of those meeting rooms and all of that. This one is from Andros saying, "Go Big Orange. Excited to see what GMac can do." Yeah, I think that he's going to end up being fine. I've never been worried about it. That was what I wanted anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that he is going to, people are going to be shocked. And we'll talk about that some more in just a second. All right, so David speaks. So Jake Garcia is a TJ Finley type guy. I mean, yeah, I've seen him play previously, and I don't think that he was very good. So I don't know how he looks right now, is all that I was saying. All right, so Tommy Harvey is saying they got to have a strength and conditioning sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, we still have time. We most definitely still have time. But, like, they're not even going to start the workout. Like, the players aren't even up on campus yet. You know what I mean? Like, they're still out, and they'll probably start to come back up on the So, really, like, this weekend, I think, is when they start coming up because classes might start on the 19th. So they start to come back up. I don't know when the workouts start, like the winter workouts. Probably not till, I mean, they'll probably start working out, but like the real grind probably starts in February. So I think we do have time. And as we talked about earlier, it's probably going to start up, or we'll probably have an idea at some point next week. So this one from Colton is saying that Trevor Lawrence was 6'6", 215 at his pro day. Is GMAC's weight blown out of proportion? Just put the strength and conditioning coach in his back pocket until September. Yeah, I mean, I think that, so GMAC he was listed at like 6'6", 195. So we're talking about 20 more pounds. 20 more pounds that's a big difference. I had to say that first and foremost. But I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. I really don't. Like, see, I'm not worried about him getting hurt, because, and maybe it's just like my line of thinking, but like what I've noticed is even if you're taller, it's like for you to be taller, I think that your joints still have to have a certain type of strength to them. Like, these guys are tall and maybe skinny, but they're also very strong. To me, it is more about the strength. It's more about how strong is he. That's what's going to, as far as I'm concerned, tell us, will he get injured? But then, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about gaining the weight, it's not just about lifting weights and all. It's about eating. So do we bring in a whole new staff from that standpoint? Like, we've got to have something better as far as what they've been doing to get him right, and maybe some other players too. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward, y'all. So I do want to focus on, because we haven't done this quite yet, the players that are coming and are going. So everybody's up here right now. This is the offense. Yeah, so this is the offense first. You can see who all's leaving from each room, like what all we've added to those rooms, and just kind of like do like a plus minus inside of your head. And you can see where some of these players are going if they've already chosen a program. So at quarterback, we're losing Jake Merklinger. He's going to UConn. We haven't added a quarterback, obviously. We're just talking about that. Definitely have to add somebody. I don't know what sort of caliber that's going to be, but you have to add another scholarship body. Running back, we lose Peyton Lewis. Y'all see where he's going. Haven't added a running back just yet. Tight end, losing Jack Van Dorselier. Haven't added another guy. At kicker, we lose Max Gilbert. He goes to Arkansas. And then we bring in Cooper Ronvier. I think I'm saying his name right. And I think that Coop is probably might be an upgrade. So wide receiver, it's guys that really didn't play, like they didn't see the field. So not a huge deal. We actually had a guy from Oklahoma State that I think could be a good like slot sort of a wide receiver, but probably more for special teams purposes, just because keep in mind, y'all, we're also adding players from the high school ranks. So some of that depth might be better depth. That's just younger depth. And, to me, that's probably fine, especially wide receiver. You don't have to be a veteran to be a good wide receiver. Skill positions, you typically don't have to be a veteran. You want the veterans more, I think, inside of the trenches. That's where that grown man strength really comes into play at. So for the offensive line, offensive tackles, we've actually lost 4. So Brian Grant, he's under like guard center, but he's really an offensive tackle. So lost 4 guys there. Lance Hurd, he was a starter. Y'all see where he's going. I think that was kind of a loss, but Tennessee should be fine at offensive tackle because David Sanders, Jesse Perry, I think that's our 2 starting tackles. But then we add the kid from LSU, Ori Williams. I think that he's also very good. But I think that Ori probably takes the place of a Bennett Warren, who is like that swing backup tackle. So he's going on Minnesota. And then Trevor Duncan. So I put him in here just because he was listed. From my understanding, he had an injury that was stopping him from playing football. I can tell you all this, though. Before he did get injured, I thought that he was looking really, really, really good. So I hated for him, but he has entered into the portal. Again, I don't know what the situation is, but I just put him up here. Brian Grant, veteran, never really saw the field. He's also gone. And then we lose William Satterwhite. He was a center. He's going to LSU. I think that he's good. I think that he's going to be very good. But we still have Nick Moore as like a backup, who I feel like could maybe, if everything is equal and if everything is honest, I think that he should be able to earn that starting spot because I think that he is that good. Might actually be an upgrade from Sam Pendleton, in all honesty, from what I've seen with him as a true freshman. I know small sample size versus lesser competition, but it don't take a whole lot. Certain things you just know, you just see it, whatever. But then we also lose Max Anderson at guard, who I thought was really good. So we have to add another guard, right? Like y'all can kind of tell based off of this what Tennessee needs to add, but we'll talk about that some more in just a second. So on defense, defensive tackles, that's in your top left. Josh Shell never really played a whole lot. And also, let me say this: I'm happy for the kids that are finding a home. I hope that they do very well. I don't want for them to. Obviously, I want to be able to beat whoever we have to play. So, but I'm not. I don't have any ill will towards any of these guys. They're doing what they feel like is best for them and for their families, and that's what everyone does. That's what you should do. But either way, he's gone. Herb Gray, man. So he's going out to Vegas. So I'm happy for him. Jamal Wallace, like out of those three, he's the only one that actually saw real playing time. He's going to a good program. Again, hope that he does well. But Tennessee adds Gilliam, who's a really good defensive tackle from Penn State. We got to add one more guy. As far as edge, we got Jordan Ross. He's leaving. Jaden Lofton. Y'all see, it's a lot of people leaving. Some of them haven't found homes yet, but we did add Jordan Norman. Actually, his film breakdown's coming out at some point today for all of our members. And if y'all want to see all the film breakdowns that we've done and the ones that we will continue to do and all the other content, y'all can join us as members on YouTube by clicking on the join button just below this video or on Patreon at patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown. And then we also have Chaz Coleman, who is a stud. Linebacker, we lose Brendan Ains, but then we bring in Campbell. That's another vet. Cornerback, Ricky Gibson, Colin Brazel, Marcus Gorey. Really, Ricky Gibson's the only one that actually saw the field, so that's, in my opinion, the only real loss. We've got Kayan Lee coming in. Really, Quay Moss should be up under that category of corner. He's listed as a safety, but he's going to be more of like a corner or a nickel. So we've already got two guys, probably going to add maybe two more guys, maybe three. And then at safety, we lose Caleb Beasley and then Boo Carter, who did play at Star, but Star is really more of like a safety than it is a corner, in all honesty. But yeah, so we lose two talented players, but I think we're bringing in an influx of talent. And I would say one of those guys that you're looking at could end up actually playing at Star. And I don't know if it's Quay Moss. I always talk about it. Quay Moss, y'all, for me, is a nickel. He's not a star. The difference is Star has to play inside of the box and be more physical. A nickel is more like coverage on the outside stuff. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold up physically just because of his size and his stature. But I do think that one of those other two guys could end up playing at the Star whenever we do that. Like if we go to the three safeties, where that third safety is essentially playing Star. And then one of the guys that we already have up on campus ends up being one of the other safeties. See what I'm saying? So just wanted to throw that out there. But let's move forward, okay? This is part of what we need, okay? We need one defensive tackle for sure. Still need at least one corner. Like I said, one star, one running back, one tight end, one guard. So it's still a pretty hefty list. And while y'all are looking at that, I'm going to tap back into the chat and make sure that I'm not falling too far behind. So Ben, what's going on, bro? Send the GMac phase on and add one other, and let's run it again. That's a fact, man. That is a fact. That's how we got to play it. So who else do we have in here? All right, so Duncan us is saying, does Amen give Kwame Brown vibes? Come on, bro. Listen, let's try to focus on football, y'all. I'm not ready to really start to dive into basketball just yet. Until the portal until it ends, which is tomorrow, I'm not really going to start to talk about basketball and all that type of stuff just yet. Let me see what else we got in here, though. All right. Who else do we have? So this one is from Corey. He's saying, get your popcorn ready. GMac is going to ball out. Yeah, I think he's going to have a good season. This one is from Steve saying one more thing. In spite of how light GMac is in weight, isn't he only 5 pounds lighter than Nico was? I read that somewhere. Surely he can put on 5 pounds before the fall. I don't think so. So Nico, I want to say that coming into 2020, was that 2024? I think he was 215. So I don't know what his real weight is right now, but he's listed at 195. So I'm going off of that. He looks like he actually already has started to gain some weight. But yeah, I mean, that's like what my target is. Can he get up to, I would say, like at least 210, 215 or better would be great. If he can get up to 220, you feel fantastic about it. But yeah, I mean, everyone carries weight differently. Everyone's strength levels, that's all different. I don't so much look at really just the numbers. I use the numbers as a gauge based off of how they look to me physically. You know what I'm saying? Like not just with how they're carrying weight, but also how do they look out on the field. And because for George, I go back to the orange and white game. How did he look? What could not get touched, but how did he look just as far as if he did get touched? Was he good? Could he break the tackles and all that? That's more of what I'm worried about. All right, so this is what Tennessee's looking for. You know what I'm saying? And then we've got quarterback. So these are some of my personal metrics and what I'm looking for, or what I think that the staff should be looking for in our transfer portal quarterback. They're probably going to be coming from a lower level, so like FCS or D2 or whatever. Probably coming from like that lower classification. That's first and foremost because you want to be able to save the money. I don't think that you really want to break the bank unless you can get a guy to hit the portal between now and tomorrow, which is when it closes. And now you can still bring in players after the portal closes, but they have to get in by tomorrow. So if we can do some tampering and maybe get somebody that fits all these things from a higher classification that the staff feels like they want to bring in to be the starter, then hey, it just is what it is. They just better make sure that they're doing everything to make sure that this team is in the best position to be as good as possible. But I also think that it would be important for us as Tennessee fans to have grace with George McIntyre as one of Tennessee's very own, right? Tennessee kid, grew up, forever, huge Tennessee fan. So we are working towards our future. And at some point, you want to get him some playing time. You know what I'm saying? Like, what better time than right now, in all honesty? That's the way that I look at it. I think that he will be fine, but he's going to have growing pains. He's not going to be perfect. So don't have the expectations necessarily that he's going to come in and be a Heisman Trophy candidate, right? I'm not saying that. I don't think that he even needs to be that. Just manage ball games, take care of the football, make a few big time throws. You know what I'm saying? Like, make a few big time plays. If he does that, then I think that he's fine. So I did want to point that out. But for like the rest of what I'm looking for, I want a veteran. That's just me. I don't think that you want to bring in somebody that could potentially scare away Faison or George. Obviously, you don't want to do that. But with things kind of being locked up after tomorrow, maybe you can do it, but does that piss them off and make them say, hey, regardless of what happens in this next portal window, I'm out of here. So that's up to the staff. They got to be able to gauge all that type of stuff. That's what they get paid for. But I would love to get a veteran, somebody that understands ball. So if they have to come in, because I'm already looking at George as probably our starter, I'm not saying that he will be for sure. The other guy might be able to beat him out. Who knows? But I think that you want someone that is competent, that knows ball, and maybe his strengths could be more of what we would consider to be George McIntyre's weaknesses. All right, so next, I think that you want somebody with a big arm. That's just part of the Josh Heupel system. You got to have a big arm. You don't have to be, doesn't have to be the biggest arm ever, but you need to be able to throw the football, I'm going to say, at least 60 yards. Like, you got to be able to throw it down the field. That's the biggest thing. And you got to be able to fit it into some windows, too. I think that that's very important, like halfway through the season. If they're not super accurate or if they've got some fundamental problems, that's fine. That's what Halsey's there for, Heupel's there for, to get that type of stuff cleaned up. Okay, and then I think that, again, it needs to be a good game manager, take care of the football. Don't want to see a whole lot of picks, especially if they're coming in to be more of potentially a backup. You just need them to be able to hand the football off. Don't do a bunch of stupid stuff, trying to do too much. Don't want that. It'd be nice if they're mobile. You don't have to have all these things, but if you could get most of them, that's great. It'd be nice if they're mobile, and obviously, really, I probably should have started off with this one. I want them to be big and sturdy because if people have, pointed out several times, everyone's worried about GMac, not being big enough and all that. So you don't want to bring in another quarterback that could potentially end up getting injured because they, maybe they're too frail if that's what you're worried about. Like I said, for George, I'm really not too worried about that. I think that he will be fine. Does he need to gain some weight? Yes, but I'm not even going to talk too much about him getting injured. I just think that maybe is bad karma or, whatever you want to say about it. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. Let me tap back into what people are saying. Do we have more coming in? Yeah, looks like we got a few more that came in. So this one is from Gryffindor. All right, hey man, listen, appreciate you, man. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you for sure. And hey, no, hey, listen, I'm not. I definitely wasn't being rude when I was saying that, so I hope that you didn't take it that way. But I am saying that, yeah, I would like to at this point. Let's just focus on the football stuff because we still got a long basketball season. I do think that the basketball team is doing good. Obviously, I'm happy to see that Nate taking steps forward. He's starting to grow. He's starting to figure it out. And we talked about it from the start of the year. Hey, man, you're almost 7 feet tall. All you need to do is just shoot over people. Like, get very comfortable with they're shorter than me. For them to block my shot, they're probably going to have to foul me and do a whole lot more of that. He's starting to do it, and I think that's helping us out. What else do we have? So from Green Wave, all right, so he's talking to Colton. He's saying that Lawrence didn't play in the SEC, and back in his college days, he looked way thicker than GMac does now. Yeah, so, I mean, look, I'm not there. I think that there is a lot and probably too much being made of the SEC thing, especially now, because we see that the Big Ten is probably like the top of the Big Ten is probably stronger than the SEC. And I think a whole lot of that has to do with the coaching. I think that their coaches are way better than the SECs are because on paper, their talent is not as good. I think that those guys are tougher. I think that they're going and getting dogs, you know? So I would like take that with a grain of salt personally, but I understand what the point is that you're making. But yes, I mean, obviously, Trevor Lawrence looked bigger because he was bigger. He was like 20 pounds heavier. So yeah, I mean, he was a much bigger dude. And I mean, even though he did look kind of thin, he was very strong. So I had a chance to watch him play when he was in high school. Actually, I think that P played against him. And he might have been a freshman. So actually, P played against him, and he also played up against Watson too. So two just like tremendous quarterbacks. But he was strong. Like some guys are very tall and they look lean, but they're strong as bulls. Like that's what you got to understand. It's not just about the weight. Like take that stuff. A lot of folks just look at the girth of people and think that they're strong or something. That is not true. There's a whole lot of folks that are big and fluffy, you know what I'm saying, that are big, fluffy, and injury prone and all of that. If you a dog, if you strong, if you built different, then you just built different. So I think that GMac might fit into that category personally. Okay, so let me move on. I got another one right here from Donkey Nuts. Okay. Yeah, man. Coach has to line us out, and that was just a teacher. Nah, bro. Oh man, you a fool. All right, so let me see what else do we got before we move on. Yeah, I think so. I think that, and I don't know if I can say overall. I think that is just about in all honesty, I think that is just about like the top. How many? I would say maybe top 6 or 7. But if you talk about top to bottom, yeah, the SEC is stronger because there's some teams in the Big Ten that really aren't that great. But yeah, I feel what you're saying. I do think that it is better. All right, so let me get to this next one right here. So this one is saying the portal closes only to player entries, not to, yes, 100%. So the portal closes to the entries tomorrow, but you can still, if players are still out there, then you can add them all the way up. I think for us, they said, I've heard up to like February at some point, but if it's a guy that we really, really want, we'll find a way to get him in. You know what I'm saying? Just because football is such a big deal. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward and let's start talking about these visits. So today, who we're supposed to have is cornerback Tevis Metcalf. So he's the brother, I think, maybe like a stepbrother of TJ Metcalf from Michigan. And 5'10", about 200 pounds. I had a chance to watch him. It didn't play a whole lot. He was only targeted in coverage, I think, twice. But playing it like the nickel, I think that he looks pretty good. You can tell that he's got the skill set. One play looked really, really good. The other play, he gave up a touchdown. To me, it was some like fundamental issues that you can always coach guys up, but do they have the skill set that they're capable of playing on this level for sure? So I'm positive. I'm about 90+% positive that Tennessee's going to end up adding him. That might have been like a package deal. And then next we have a safety, DJ Burks from App State. 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. So from what I've heard, he's more of like a special teams player. I also watched him. Does some good things as far as physicality, especially versus passing plays. I think that his coverage looks pretty solid. But versus the run, it was weird, man, because I saw him missing, like, getting downhill, right? I think he's more of like a box safety, but I did see him missing tackles. Again, that's coaching points. That's fundamental stuff. So yeah, I think that he's a good player for us to add because I really wanted us to add another safety anyway. So bringing in more people who could potentially play at safety, I don't think that that's a negative thing, but more of a special teams guy. So then we have two guards coming in. The kid Donovan Haslam, watched him play. He's a bigger guy. He does some good things. I would like to see him lose some weight because I think that would help him out. And then I've also watched Ethan Fields, hasn't played a whole lot. So Donovan has played a lot more than Fields has. But I think that Fields, in my opinion, looks better, like as far as his body composition. He's got a really stout lower body, good looking, kind of like upper body. He's got that, it's kind of got, like that T shape that you want men to have, right? Like got the broad shoulders, got a big, strong upper body. Waist is, a little bit tighter. And not that I'm checking him out, right? But you have to look for these things whenever you're, looking at football players. So I'm just saying his body composition to me looks better. Very small or smaller sample size. But I think that he's good. I think that those are two really solid options at guard for Tennessee. And we have to upgrade that because if you're worried about George McIntyre taking the hits, then you've got to get better, like especially on the inside of the offensive line. You don't want the pressure coming from that spot. That's the worst place because it's hard to get out of that. You know what I mean? So I think that we're fine at tackle. I think that we're pretty good at guard and at center. But if we can find more help, if we can find somebody that could maybe even push to be a starter, that's what I'm looking for. And in all honesty, if it's me, if we've got the money, because we didn't, spend it on a quarterback for $6 to $7 million, then why not just bring in both? Probably hard to do because I know that these guys want to play, but I would like to bring in both of these guys. Just add more depth. We got more scholarships now. Okay, so the last guy, Javen Gordon. Man, watched him last night, and I know that we talked about him last night. 5'10", 200. I said, okay, shorter, stockier guy. I've watched him previously, but watched him more like in depths. Pass blocking looks really good. Love that. Hands look solid. Okay, really like that. But running the football, what I'm looking for was the bigger backs that can run through contact, that will run with a purpose. You know what I'm saying? That run with that dog. That's him. He definitely runs through contact. I know that he's a smaller guy, just from like a weight standpoint, but because he's shorter, it makes him. And listen, y'all, I'm not saying that he's Travis Henry. Excuse me, I'm not saying that he's Travis Henry at all. But what I am saying is that his build looks similar to Cheese. It does. Like he's got those big, like tree trunk legs, and you see people kind of not nearly on the same level, but somewhat bouncing off of. That's what I'm looking for. So he's one of those guys, and he's coming up obviously at some point today. Hopefully we can close out there. So for the rest of the weekend, what we have left is Aaron Scott. He's still visiting Oregon first, as far as I know, but I think he's a really good secondary piece. He could play at outside corner. He could play at the slot, so nickel, or he could play at star, or I even think he could play at safety. So went back, brushed up on my film with him. He does. I think that he would benefit from getting some more quality training, or maybe even from understanding what to do, because I see him moving his arms around a whole lot, so that is like wasted motion and movement. And you don't want to do too much of that playing in the secondary. I do think the in and out of breaks looks really good, but a lot of like arm and like hand flailing, which I don't love. But you could train somebody out of that. And again, I think it's more because he wasn't quite sure what to do. So smaller sample size for him, as well as far as like the coverage targets. But I still think that his skill set is really, really good. So I would like that. I would like to be able to add him. And then we have Mr. Agard, who I watched, and he does some good things, man. He's almost like, you know what? I don't know what to throw in there. So look, I would say in some ways he looks like Haddon. You know what I'm saying? Like just as far as his in and out of breaks. I'm seeing some of that. So he's really good at that, but he needs some training too. I think that he's a younger guy, but definitely could benefit from some good quality cornerback training. But we'll see how things play out, right? We'll see who all does Tennessee want to add. But I would like to potentially add all three of these corners, maybe. I mean, if you do that, you're probably pushing somebody out which I don't know if I really want to do. But yeah, I mean, at least get your two guys who could play inside the secondary and, who could play more at like corner and add that depth, just because I think that we need a lot more depth at that spot. So then last, y'all, is Mekhi Frazier from Michigan State. Watched him, pass blocking, I'll be honest, didn't love it. Hands, there was a couple like one-handed catches, but I think he tries to catch with one hand too much. I mean, used to, because if you're not making the catches with one hand consistent enough, then you probably need that other hand. So more of that. I didn't love the physicality running the football. Not for a guy that's 220. Like I said, man, if you're 220, I want you to run like you're 220. I don't want you tiptoeing and trying to cut. And that's one thing that actually makes me sick personally. I can't stand bigger guys that play like little guys. Bro, you're big. Play big. Okay, like you don't need to don't try to get cute, bro. Like every now and then make some people miss, but for the most part, if they're in your way, you need to be trying to go through them. So I didn't see a whole lot of that, in all honesty. I didn't have a chance to watch every single snap, but I watched enough that I felt like I should have saw that more. Now, the other kid, Gordon, I saw that. I see him making people miss. I think that he's probably the better option for us. So let me tap back into the chat, y'all, and appreciate y'all's patience while I'm going through all this information. So John is asking, is there any smoke with Damon Wilson, or is that still pretty quiet? Yeah, that's still pretty quiet, bro. And that's another one. I would love for us to go at him. I just think that you want to, and it's not because the defensive ends that we have are bad. It's just because why not add more? If you've got more money, I mean, why not spend it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Why not build things up as much as you possibly can? But I'm sure that there's a reason. At least I'm hoping that there's a reason. I don't think that the staff would just not target guys of that caliber when it seems like they're still out there at this point. Gryffindor saying add them all on the list. I mean, we have 100+ scholarships now. That's a fact. I mean, like, why not? Why not try to fill up the roster as much as you possibly can with really good quality depth, especially now that the portal's about to start closing. So that's something else. I mean, is there going to be anybody else that's maybe going to leave from the portal? And actually, let me give y'all like a little sneak preview, real quick, right? Actually, I don't know that we've even shown y'all this yet, but this is everyone that we've added. I don't think that we've shown y'all this today, but everyone that we've added from the portal up to this point, I think that we've done a great job on defense. But it's everyone like all in one graphic, and everyone except for the long snapper. Okay, but I did want to give y'all a quick sneak peek to Jordan Norman. It's coming up tonight, baby. We're gonna have that out for y'all. I've already obviously gone through his film. I think that he's very good. Okay, so let's go back, man, and let's start to talk about the Tennessee maybe potentially lose anybody else. So with the offense, I don't necessarily see that happening. I know that there's maybe been some rumors about maybe losing Brain, which I don't even know where that's coming from. I don't think that we're going to lose him. I don't know that we would lose. Like, why would we lose anybody else? You know what I'm saying? Maybe wide receivers, though. I mean, and I'm just purely speculating, y'all. Maybe, and the only reason I say it is because what if they don't feel confident with GMac? I think that they do feel confident with him, like they're down in South Florida throwing with him, so I think that speaks volumes. So probably not even that. No reason for us to lose any running backs or any more offensive linemen. I think that we are going to be fine with everything on the offensive side of the football. As far as defense, I think that it could be possible that maybe we lose some more guys inside of the secondary. I could see that. I don't know about anything else. I don't think that we would lose anything else. But I also feel like some of the guys that you would think at this point, hey, maybe they might want to leave because we're bringing in so many safeties. I think that the staff is high on those guys, and I think that they've expressed that to them. So I don't think that they want to leave. So I think that we're going to end up pretty much having what we think that we're going to have and just adding to it, which is a great position for us to be in. Let's just coach these guys up. Let's get a good strength coach, and let's daggum go to work in this offseason. Let's build up what we have and what we add as much as we possibly can, and I think that Tennessee's going to end up being fine. It doesn't mean that we're going to make it to the college football playoffs necessarily, but I think that we'll have a team that's possible. I think that if we make the necessary changes from like a coaching standpoint with some of the game management issues, with some of the problems that we had on the offense, we got a whole new staff on defense. I think that they're going to probably end up being fine. One of my concerns, though, for the defense is running more of the 4-2-5, and maybe not as much 3-3-5, which Knowles can also run that. I'm curious, will he go in target before things end a bigger defensive tackle, like a nose tackle that could play in a 3-3-5 so that we can really run that? Because like we talked about last night, whenever you're running, playing defense versus more spread offenses, you need to run a 3-3-5. It's very difficult with the four-man front to stop all the moving pieces. Very difficult unless you got juggernauts up front. The pass rush has got to be crazy. You know what I mean? The coverage, everything, like you're putting extra stress because you got four people that are, essentially rushing the passer, and they're not really dedicated to playing out in space. That's what you need with the 3-3-5. But anyway, wanted to just kind of throw that out there. But yeah, like with the offense, got to be able to make the necessary changes and have counters. And if we can get that figured out, then the offense is going to be perfectly fine. I'm really not too worried about it. And this is something else that I said that I would speak on with the quarterback situation is, you know, and we started to talk about it last night, but, you know, just to take it one step further with how the quarterbacks operated. So Joey, look, I'm not picking on Joey, love Joey, but what I need for people to understand is think back over the course of the year. Think about, for those of y'all that's been watching this channel, what do we talk about after ball games, right? Whether it's post game or whether it's day after thoughts, whatever. What are we talking about? Well, man, you know, Joey comes out, he looks really good for like the first quarter, but there's like a lull. You know, if that's at the end of the first quarter or like through the second quarter, where we're doing more check down stuff and it's not very accurate, right? Or, you know, more towards the end of the year, man, you know, he's throwing the ball up in the double and triple coverage and it's starting to get intercepted, right? Why am I bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because I really don't think that people understand that even though Joey Aguilar had played more football, right? I don't know that he had gotten out of some of the bad habits that you would look for from a quarterback that's played a whole lot of football. Because I know that everyone here has probably watched a high school football game and the quarterback throws it into double coverage, whether it gets picked or not. And you're like, why the hell is he doing that? If you don't expect for a high school quarterback to do that, you shouldn't expect for a college quarterback to do that either. And Joey did it before he came here. He did it to start the season off. Chris Brazel saved him a whole lot of times. All of our wide receivers, they were making plays in double and triple coverage, just high-point footballs and snatching it. I don't think that from an operational standpoint, he was some juggernaut because he had played football so much. I think that he operated well because Coach Heupel set the system up for him to operate well, the same thing that he's done for all of his other quarterbacks for the most part. Outside of Joe Milton, I think in Nico, because the system had been figured out. So we made the necessary changes. Really, before Nico left, we started making those changes. So that started like right after the 2024 season, but then Nico leaves. So the person that benefited from it was whoever the starting quarterback was going to end up being. But I'm saying all those things just to say we have to continue to add to the offensive system. And because GMac, I think, will take better care of the football down the field. He won't throw it off his back foot whenever he's feeling pressure into double and triple coverage. And also think that with the regular ones and twos, with, hey, man, like you got to hit this 10-yard hook or just like a regular comeback or like a slant, whatever, things going over the middle that should be pitch and catch passes. I think that takes a big step forward. And that's a huge part of being a game manager and operating. Like the stuff down the field, that's still going to be there. You know, like we scheme that up. Can you hit those? Well, George has shown, he showed it in the orange and white game that he can do it, right? That he's not scared to do it, that he knows when to do it. So I just wanted to throw that out there and just say that, look, I think the Tennessee is going to end up being fine, man, from top to bottom. All right, so let me see if I can tap into some more of these chats. Okay, so no more from the members or any super chats. So what else do we have? Oh, so this one is from Eric. He said, have I looked at film on any of the FCS quarterbacks that we've been talking about? Dixon, yeah. So I looked at the kid Dixon, and I think that he's good. You know, I think that he's small, though. So one of the things that, like I said, I wanted to point out, probably should have pointed out earlier, is you want somebody that's bigger and sturdier. He's listed at like 5'11", 180. So that's small. Like he's shorter, and he's also not that big. Like, that's small for cornerbacks. See what I'm saying? So can he deal with the type of grind and, you know, all that, the wear and tear? Maybe. But I think that he's pretty solid as a quarterback. Some of the insiders have already said that Tennessee's probably not going to be targeting him. So I don't know where the staff is at this point. So let me see. Seriously, if y'all haven't seen the Anatoly clip, I'm not sure what that's talking about. Thank you so much for this, bro. All right, so Merc Slinger is going to torch defenses playing at UConn. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. So this one right here is from Big Dog's Got to Eat. What do I think the chances are of Joey still coming back? I think that it's very slim. But, yeah, that's another possibility is that, I mean, will Tennessee even wait that long? You know, but, yeah, maybe it's going to take months and months and months. By the time the season starts up, maybe he gets his answer at some point over the summer, probably misses spring practice and all of that, right? So that's just not a very positive thing. But maybe he's still sitting out there, but like I was saying, I don't think that Tennessee has the luxury of time to be able to wait that long. If there's a quarterback that you look at out there inside the transfer portal that you like, you got to bring him in, and I don't think that we'll bring in 4. I think that we'll probably stick at 3, but maybe you can bring in 4 if that's the situation. I don't know what they're going to do. But as far as the overall chances of Joey just getting granted that extra year, I would say for me, which of course I'm not a judge or any of that, but just for me mentally, ballparking, I'd say 10% or less. I don't think that they're trying to do that no more. And I'll be honest, I think that's kind of a positive thing. Like some of these guys they're getting too old in playing football, and it's hurting the high school players. I have a big problem with that, and I would have a big problem whether my nephews, were coming up through the high school ranks or almost coming up through it, whatever, or not. I do have empathy, so I look at, hey, this situation doesn't necessarily impact me and my family, but I see how this could be a problem. I still look at it that way. So I think that is a problem. Like these high school kids need to have more opportunities. And these older guys, they need to make the most of the opportunities whenever they get them. And if you don't, then it's probably time for you to move on. So yeah, that's how I look at it, in all honesty. So yeah, we'll see what happens though. I obviously, man, I hope that Joey maybe, gets whatever it is that he's looking for. If he wants the extra year, I hope that he gets it. If he's looking forward to doing something, I hope that happens for him. Wish him well. All right, so this one's talking to Colton from Green Wave. We'll move on. This one is from MG Way. Saying, am I the only one that is glad that we didn't get any of these transfer quarterbacks? Yeah, no, you're not the only one, bro. I feel the same way. I didn't really want those guys. You know what I'm saying? Because unless they were coming at a discount, if they're not coming at a discount, then what's the point? Like you're spending up too much money on guys that I don't think we're going to be a lot better than George anyway, right? So if it's Brendan Sorsby, yeah, I think that he probably would have been better than George to start the season off, potentially. If it's Sam Levitt, I don't think so. I honestly don't. I think that Sam Levitt already shown that he's injury prone, kind of a gunslinger. I know that his touchdown to interception ratio might not fully indicate that, but I think that he's been very fortunate. There is something to say about having that good fortune versus what actually happens. But either way, yeah, he puts the ball in the, like harm's reach way too much for my liking. Some of the same stuff that we talked about with Joey, getting the pressure. Well, let me, extend and just throw it out. You know what I'm saying? Throw it off my, side of my body and all that, back across my body, and just really bad habits that I don't love. I don't love any of that. Bring back the fullback. It sounds like guys like Carson Gentle, who has pretty much been playing a fullback for us. I mean, maybe he can move the tight end because Tennessee does still need a tight end. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know who all we have. Like, that's another thing. Maybe just move him on over and let him be that guy. I think that would be a good situation for him. All right, so this one is from Bray. Is asking, have I seen so we just talked about him. He's from Western Carolina. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that I haven't, so I've watched a good amount of his film. Haven't really, like, for me, quarterbacks, I want to be able to break them down extensively. But I think that he does some good things. Like, he's got a good arm. He's got good touch. Is his arm really big for, like, the intermediate passes to fit it into tight windows? I haven't seen that part of it just yet. But I think that he could operate. But he's just small, and that kind of scares me. But, I mean, would he be a good option to bring in as a potential backup? Probably. I don't remember what class he's in, but you don't want to bring in a younger guy, right? So we'll see what they do, man. Because I have no idea. I hope that they have some sort of a plan. It doesn't feel like they really have a great one. If they do, this one is saying that Levitt seems like a John Mateer comparison to me. I think that's a pretty good comp. I think that's a pretty solid comp. Yeah. I say that's a pretty fair comp. Trying to think, like, what are the biggest differences? I think that Sam Levitt might be a better threat as a runner. He might be like a little bit better than John Mateer, but I think that Mateer probably overall takes better care of the football. If all that makes sense, he doesn't do as many things that, like, really scare me. You know what I mean? So this one is saying that I like the idea of Gentle as, yeah. So that's something that I've seen other people kind of throwing out there first. But yeah, I think that would suit him well because the defensive line is, I don't know if he's going to get in as a strong side defensive end. I just think that we're too deep there. I think that some freshmen are already going to probably end up passing him up. So yeah, y'all, that's pretty much it. I don't really have too many more thoughts, but appreciate y'all for joining us and chiming into the conversation. We'll see how things play out over the next about, I'm going to say 5 to 6 hours. We should get some news about people that's up on visits. It might come later on tonight, but if we get something that's major, we'll maybe come back and talk about it with y'all. But Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be talking to y'all probably maybe later on tonight. All right. Thanks. Peace.